I'm gonna just ask a question, and whoever wants to answer it, please answer. But I'm sure we've all learned things working here. We're a work from anywhere culture. Not that we need to focus on just work from anywhere stuff in this discussion, but I think that does play a part. So I want to ask, really specifically working with colleagues at Yodo1, what are some of the things, maybe insights you've had, or things that you've picked up that might benefit the rest of us, me, Flo, or whoever else, or people watching, things that you think you individually have kind of discovered working at Yodo1 that might be an interesting insight. I've certainly picked up a lot of stuff working here, and that involves the work from anywhere stuff. So maybe I can start, and then I'm hoping that if I'm the only one who has something to share, that's pretty sad. But one of the things that I've noticed, especially with the style that we work, a lot of work happens inside of messengers. So we use Ding Talk, but I mean, for a lot of people working with colleagues, not necessarily by email, but in messengers, things can disappear very quickly. So somebody says something, but you were asleep, and then 6 hours later, there's a 400 message long thread that happened, and you have to try to find the thing that's related to you, or read the whole thing, which may or may not happen. So the thing that I've found to be most useful is when I need something to be done, or I'm asking somebody to do something, or I'm asking other people to ask me or to tell me what they want done, to condense everything inside of a single message that answers all the questions that might be follow-ups. So instead of just saying, I need you to do something, or please do this, to actually spend 5 minutes thinking about the 3 or 4 questions that they will ask as a follow-up to get more information, and then redo the message before I send it with all of those things in it, to reduce the need for a back and forth conversation. So it sort of compresses it. And I found that to be very helpful since doing that. And I'm hoping more people start doing it. So does anybody have anything like that they've discovered, sort of a nice little trick that can make things more efficient or better, or run more smoothly?
I think that's actually a really good point, Luke, on kind of thinking ahead before sending a message to avoid a long back and forth. Definitely. Um, the first thing that came to mind when you asked the question for me was like using a tool where things where you can go back and find things where they have a little more permanence, not quite permanence, but like you said in Ding Talk, things get lost. And in my team, we've tried using a note instead, where we can see what everyone's up to or what things need to be done, and we refresh that basically every week. So instead of having a lot of back and forth, can you do this or can you do that in our group chat, we use Notion actually, and we put it in a page, and everyone has a little kind of toggle list, and then we can kind of see what people are up to. And also, yeah, we've been experimenting with it. Maybe Shiksha can tell you what she thinks about it.
With no
But
with Notion specifically?
Yeah.
just Notion, because has convenient formatting. I know other teams will use either a Trello board or an Airtable board, and Notion has those types of boards as well, which we also use in our team. And yeah, kind of things that you can move out of group chat so they don't get lost. But I still struggle personally with, there's the to do here and the to do there, and there's
Yeah.
this page and that board, and if we could consolidate it all, that would be amazing. But
Are we working
keep
toward that? Are we
experimenting.
working toward consolidation? Is that happening? Is that
It's on my mind.
is well, that's good. Are
I
we
think there
So
is
is, right? Or at least someone's creating, like, someone's connecting all the databases. I think there's a team for that. Or I'm not sure if it continued because one of the person who was like working for that team is like also gone. So I'm not sure if they're pushing forward with that. Hopefully there
I'm not
is.
sure. I know more and more teams are getting set up with Airtable and using kind of like a ticket system. For example, like in, the way you might have customer support tickets, the automation team has it, the art team now has it.
We use it.
Um, yeah, that's so maybe eventually we'll have more of a, even in the management meeting, Athena is using it now to track CTAs, and maybe that will lead to a single kind of automated all of your to-dos that anyone has ever sent you in one place kind of.
It's a very interesting sort of process because I mean, I think many companies are trying to figure this stuff out. So one way you could go would be to commit to one tool and say, okay, we're going to do this from the beginning. I think what we've done is we've sort of spread out and used tons of different platforms and apps, but sort of as a discovery method of being able to figure out which ones work for which functions. And then I think we'll probably head toward settling on a few of the main ones that really help. So I think it's part of the life cycle of discovering the best ways to work
Yeah, lots of
uh,
experimenting.
all over the world.
But
Shiksha,
I
you
think some
said,
people,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think some people get attached to a tool and then they don't want to let it go,
Yes.
like Evernote.
Yeah.
Like Big
Don't get me
Talk.
start. Don't get me started.
We've thought about letting go of Ding Talk and moving to something else, but it's so much work, and we have not yet had the resources to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna move to Lark. I already have
That
it on
was
my phone.
yeah.
We
I
were.
heard the same, but yeah,
It got put on
because
hold
it got put on hold. Yeah.
indefinitely.
Shiksha, did you want to add something something along the lines of what Flo was saying, or
Yeah.
another insight? I'd love to hear
Yeah,
it.
I was just wanting to talk about how we are making the communication really strong between the teams, even though we do not work together in the same time zone or in the same uh, place, apparently. But still, the communication is strong because of various tools that we're using. Yeah, Notion is one such tool, obviously. It's the first time that I'm using it after like joining Yodo1. I didn't know it
Yeah.
existed. I was using Evernote before that. So yeah, it's a it's a transition, and there's a lot to learn, obviously, over there, because I get confused at times as to how it's going to go, how to duplicate items over there, how to add something new. But still, I am finding my way in that by experimenting it every day. A lot to learn, of course. Again, yeah, I was waiting for us to switch to something else from TikTok. I just saw the chat ending talk as to say new thing is coming up and this and that, but I didn't see that happening. So yeah, let's see when that happens.
I
Everything is
think
quite new, like TikTok, yeah, something new. Ali Mail I had never used, that's new. So yeah,
yeah.
the communication platforms are very new for me over here.
Yeah, I mean, but then that itself becomes a sort of exercise, and that's
Yeah,
just a matter of okay, a new tool, all right, we'll try that. New tool, okay, we'll try that. That is a way to, I think, free yourself from getting falling in love with one thing, right?
right,
I mean, there are things like that I'm in love with, but I've found that those are more for personal stuff, tools that I use, and for anything work related, it's sort of like whatever works for the most people is the best thing. And right now, it does seem to be like we seem to be a very Notion Airtable company at the moment. That's what it feels like, which I think is good. I mean, it's working pretty well.
I think it's a very strong combination of tools
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I mean, are they meant to be together? Because they do complement each other. Airtable is good for the sort of the pipes that connect everything together and the actions, and then where that stuff leads to is Notion, and it seems to work. Those two seem to
mm.
work really well together.
I think what makes them both valuable is that they're both multifunctional. Like Notion kind of combines Trello, Evernote, and the ability to essentially create a web page that you can
Mhm.
share and compile information. And then Airtable kind of combines like spreadsheets and automation, and also a Trello style project tracking. And what the one, I think they complement each other, because what the one has, what the one doesn't have, the other does. And
Yeah,
between the two of them, they can replace a lot of other things. I think, like,
totally.
you don't need spreadsheets or documents or Trello boards or Evernote. You can get rid of all of that and just use Notion and Airtable.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Totally
I'd
agree.
agree to that. They complement each other really well. It's like you're working on just one single thing, which has, the other half completes it really well. So yeah.
Maybe they'll merge. Maybe there will be a merger between Yodo1, Notion, and Airtable. Eventually, we'll become one big company. What about you, Patrick? Do you have anything you wanna add or share
I'm
about?
not sure if this is gonna be helpful. Like in terms of the workflow
That's a good
process.
disclaimer. You'll never, you're not supposed to start comments off like that. Go ahead.
In terms of the workflow process, we use Airtable, so that's set.
Yeah.
We're good
Yeah.
with that. But in terms of
Hmm.
communication, back when there were a lot of people on our team, we used to have different threads. We have so many threads for conversation. It depends on like what purpose. For example, for correction, it's just gonna be like for this thread. For the team plus some other people from another team, it's gonna be this thread. Basically, so I mean, we get a lot of messages, so you need to tag the people if you're gonna need someone to like talk to someone. And then if you're not tagged, you can just ignore the messages.
Yeah,
Because we
that's
have
how
Okay.
I do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't tag someone, no one, you could pretty much just assume no one's going to read it.
But if it's an at all tag, technically you've been tagged.
oh
So
yeah.
And
yeah,
yet,
Yeah.
the at all tag is easy to ignore if
it
it's
is
not a
very easy.
group
Yeah.
chat that you prioritize.
It's
Yeah.
not orange enough. It's not as orange
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a personal
For
tag.
me, I'll read the at alls in order of group priority. Like if it's a group that I'm really focused on, I'll check it. I'll definitely check it. Lower priority, I'll check it later on in the day. And if it's just a group that I'm only pay attention to if I'm tagged personally, then I'll ignore all of the at alls pretty much as well.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of assume the same for everyone, if you want to really get people's attention. But then we've also been experiencing, as we started yesterday, like sending people to dos. So
Right.
this is a whole new realm of,
Which I really appreciated when I got that yesterday. It wasn't because when I get a reminder from someone, hey, please do this, it just starts to go down the stack and I will hopefully remember it. But if I get it to do, it's there and it's nagging me and I'm going to do it. I think it almost has taken the place of the at, because back in the day, uh, when I used to use WeChat a lot for everything, and the individual at was like a punch in the face. So you would use it very strategically. You wouldn't overuse it, and you'd have to think about it. Now, an at to a person is just like I'm talking to you, and it's no big deal. So we need something stronger, which is I think now maybe the to do, and now maybe the notification or a ding or something like that
yeah.
to alert you on your home screen. So maybe that one will eventually fade, but for now it might be the to do. It's pretty
I think the
useful.
to do is good, because sometimes, like when people send me a message and I know I have to do it, but I can't do it right away, I'll turn that message into a to do myself. But if someone's basically already done that for you, then, and you'll think twice before sending someone a to do, because you're literally, taking their attention, saying, you need to do this for me, and not just tagging them casually, like, oh, by the way, just, yeah.
I'm only laughing because yesterday you sent the first one in a meeting with it like 30 seconds during the meeting, and you sent it out to 100 people. So yes,
I
you're
I put
testing it
some
out.
thought
Your
into
test
it.
is a test.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah,
you can actually update it. Like you can make edits and updates once you've
right. That's
sent it,
cool. Yeah,
which I did after the accidental enter.
yeah.
It was
I
just a
got it.
little premature.
Yeah. Well, what about something that's been, I'm curious about things that have been kind of learned the hard way. So I'll give an example. We were talking about Airtable. Um, at the beginning, we as a company decided to focus on uh, English. So we have quite a few Chinese staff members who don't speak English very well. So this is a priority. So the natural way, because I'm in charge of education at Yodo1, the natural way to approach that would be to think about, all right, so now I have a new thing that I'm going to spend 25 hours a week on to make sure everybody has the ability to practice English and make sure everybody's getting the resources they need and sending things to each other. So for the first 20 minutes, I was thinking along those lines of making life harder for myself as an assumption. But any assumption that you make suddenly becomes a prison that you sort of lock yourself into. And then I had a conversation with Flo, and she walked me through what the HR team had been doing with the automation team in Airtable. And it was like a nuclear bomb exploding in my brain, because I realized that this is I mean, it's exactly what we wanted to do, except instead of it being a 25-hour extra commitment per week, I would be able to do it better, more efficiently, higher quality, and it's now a much smaller time commitment. So that was a sort of uh, assumption unlocking / automation being a really good way to find a better way to do things. So the initial assumption is not often the best one. It feels right at first, but then there might be a better way of doing it. And now we have an automation team and we can use Airtable to do some pretty amazing things. That makes the program run much better than it would if I were running around starting and putting out fires. And I'm sure you would say the same thing, Flo, for HR, uh, for our, the emails that go out for recruiting. So do you have anything like that, sort of an initial painful experience that you learned something from?
Hours spent doing something manually and then realizing it was just a click of a button away if you knew the right, you know.
Yeah.
Even actually, Airtable still surprises me sometimes with what it can do. We have, all our HR data in there, and it basically started with our recruiting system, and then we ended up having all of our staff data inside the recruiting system and kind of growing and growing. And I was like, well, it doesn't make sense for this to be here. We need to move it out. And moving the staff data out of the recruiting system meant all of the automations had to change and all of the linked bases had to change. And so I was thinking like this is going to take weeks, but then it actually, there were some simple things after I had done some of the manual work already, where I saw that it's like, oh, this actually, it's smart enough to just copy over, and it ended up being simpler. And
Not
yeah, in
take
all kinds
weeks.
of things. Even just the other day with the people who handle payroll, we were talking about how to kind of who to deal with all this manual work of calculating. If you start work on May 5 and we need to pay you to May 31, and someone has to do each of those calculations for every new
Hmm.
hire. And then I talked to Alex from our automation team, and he put together a formula, and now it's like automatically calculated all the time. Don't have to do a thing. And it's like, yes.
Nice. Yeah. There are so many of those things, though, not just for automation, but just uh, looking a little bit further or exploring further or asking some questions, trying to get knowledge from someone else who might know something you don't know, can just unlock something. And that happens so often that now it's kind of I regard it as a mistake to make a plan right at the beginning, to wait a day or two and just think about it or ask someone something and do an exploratory phase at the beginning of a project where nothing is done, just to find the best way. Because if the way is if you find the best way and then you do it, then as you said, you don't have to repeat so much work, or you don't end up doing something that you never actually had to do, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I like seeing that happening more at Yodo1, where someone's trying to do something and I'm like, hey, you know who's really good at this? So and so.
Yeah.
Get in touch, schedule like a 15-minute call with them and tell them what you're trying to do, and just hear out what ideas they have. And like because there's lots of people in the company who are really good at this thing or that thing. And of course, there's the automation, but other areas as well. And yeah, it's
But
good to see
I
that
think I
happening
find it
more.
great to be on the receiving end of that, not like, oh, someone's coming to me for help. I think that's cool because it often happens where someone wants to put together a video version of a deck that they made or something like that, and then they come to me because they know that I know about that stuff, and we have a meeting about it and we talk about it, and that I think that's awesome. That's something that we should do more of. I totally agree. What about you, Shiksha or Patrick? Do you guys have any uh, painful lessons?
I'm still learning. I think I'm going
Yeah,
through it all. And then there's still more to come. So yeah, just one day at a time. Many
one
things
day at a
though.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day at a time.
How about you, Patrick?
You have to be flexible when working at Yodo1. Because when
Okay.
I started here, we were just me and Manan. We're just collecting data, and then you just got like more and more complicated responsibilities until we're actually like leading a team, and we were interviewing people, we're hiring, and then we lost that team, and now like I need to be flexible again because my responsibilities are gonna change again, and just have to keep up. And I like
Uh,
it 'cause it's not monotonous. Like it's always like changing, and it doesn't get boring here. I like it.
well, there is that idea that's coming up as a way to measure career success instead of IQ and EQ, AQ, which is the adaptability quotient, because the world sort of gets exponentially more complicated year over year. So the work world and culture is vastly more complicated than it was 60 years ago. Just the internet and memes and how people work, right? So being able to adapt means being able to fit any situation because things have to constantly change. It would be weird if something stayed the same for 30 years now. The idea of
Mhm.
someone getting a job, staying in a career for 50 years is kind of, it doesn't even exist anymore, that for that many people. So yeah, I agree. It's kind of just part of what it means to work in a company now, I think, being
Mm.
adaptable. So you have a high
It's also
adaptability quotient. You'll be a CEO in 3 years if you go to one, probably. I should be nice to you because you're the future CEO.
We'll see.
also really interesting at Yodo1 that, I mean, at the one hand, the company's been around for like what, 10 years,
Yeah,
but in terms of it's in the past 2 years pretty much become an entirely new company. It's
yeah.
like it just happens to have the same name as Yodo1. And in that way, you might think, when people say, oh, Yodo1's a startup, and you're like, well, you've been around for 10 years. Can you still be a startup? But what the company is doing now, it's only been doing for about 1 to 2 years.
Hmm.
So it is very much still like, yeah, it runs like a startup, which, yeah, it's exciting and it's always changing and it's frustrating sometimes. And
But it's weird to me. I came into it in the new era, not the old era. So I know
I think we all did.
I think most of us did, except maybe Patrick. I think was in the old
no,
days.
I
Yeah.
no, I just when did I join Yodo1? Last August. Yeah.
So it's almost like there are two sets of people. Some
Even
people that,
James is the new era. I think it's
yeah,
when
Wait, is
James
he?
came back to Yoda1 that the company changed direction, because old Yoda1, 2011 Yoda1 was a publishing studio
Hmm.
in China. New Yoda1, even Marina and people like that, they're new Yoda1 platform product Yoda1. And it's a completely different business focus, completely different kind of, direction.
Is that how we? Because the way I differentiate the new Yodo1 and the old Yodo1 was whoever had access to the office, whoever got like went to the physical office, they're the old Yodo1.
I guess there's old and then new and then new.
New.
Because
Ugh, it's getting confusing.
even back with the office, and I was never at the office because I was always remote. But even then, when people when mass became a product, that was essentially the beginning of new Yodo1.
Yeah.
Because before that, all that Yodo1 did was publish games. That was
So,
pretty much
so
it.
Maz 10K is new.
Yeah, yeah,
So our new Yodo1 then.
But there is another, and so the older generation, they know the game publisher days, and it's so far away from me that I know about it, I've learned about it, but I'm not really aware of it in my day to day, because what we do on the day to day has nothing to do with games per se. And I've also found it interesting that as a company, and we've talked about this, Flo, almost none of us play games. Almost nobody is
Yeah.
an actual
I
gamer in the
wouldn't say
company.
almost none, but I would say within that, that new group,
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of people who don't. But there are also plenty of people who do. I think it's kind of a 50-50. Just like
yeah,
Henry is a gamer and James isn't. Yeah.
right. Yeah, maybe they're the sort of the differentiators. I don't know. But I don't think it's necessarily. It came as a surprise to me to learn so many of my colleagues didn't really play games, but I don't think it's particularly relevant, right? I mean, we work, it's a gaming company, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a gamer. Although I do play more games since I've started working here, just to sort of understand
I
it a little
did
better.
play the Apple Arcade version of Crossy Road, I think it was, with my
Hmm.
daughter and my partner, and my daughter she loved it. It was like our family game for a couple months,
It's a great game.
which was also
I've
new because I'm otherwise not big on.
I've had to learn
Old
because I
school games.
interview quite a few people. So doing interviews, I've had to learn to
Mm.
feel what the monetization stuff feels like, to understand it. And producing the business of mobile gaming course, you can't really do that, I think, without playing some games.
Mm.
So one more question I've got for everybody. Um, have you been able to get to know someone through work that you've never met, but you feel that you're really getting to know them? So for myself, I think that would be especially Eve, who I work with on the English training program. We do that together, but we also do for the English training program live events, live streams, and she joins me on those. So we kind of do it together. We often do role plays, or she helps me practice, and we meet very regularly. So she's just kind of started a new thing. She's moved to a new country, and so I'm learning about those challenges and interesting things that she's learning. And it's been interesting to sort of learn about someone else's life, get to know someone, but sort of incidentally through the interaction. I've never actually met her. I may never meet her, but it's been a very interesting experience. So I wonder if anybody has really got to know anyone through with the work from anywhere lifestyle.
Meet in person, right? Not like
Not necessarily meet in person. I mean, I've never met Eve, but I
you
could
guys
tell
haven't
you.
talked through Zoom.
Well, we know we talk meet. Well, what do you mean by meet?
As in
Meet
like
is
I mean, in person, like you guys like shake hands or
no,
hug.
never, never.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of like
But I
that.
can tell you how many pets she has. I can tell you what she does in her free time. I could answer these questions. So that's kind of what I meant. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a colleague, my teammate Joey. It's really
From
really nice to
Patrick's
work with
team.
her. We almost would not have been in the same team because she replaced someone who did not show up at the last moment, who was about to join with me. So she joined in the same time. We completed onboarding at the same time, and we actually talk offline a lot. Also, I have learned a lot about her life in Philippines, how she has like grown into being into a freelancer after being, an office person. So we talk about stuff a lot, and then I know what her likes and dislikes are. We do talk about how things are going on in her life every morning, the updates, every evening, the updates. It's really nice. Like, just yesterday, I thanked her for being my colleague because she's really sweet. She does not mind things. I did a really stupid mistake one day. I just lost track of time because I had a lot to do the other
Mm.
day. And I did not see the time. I forgot she was in Philippines and she works at the Beijing time. I have this, I'm very aware of the three Chinese colleagues that we have, Shona, Majun, and Hueza, but somehow I forgot that Joey is in the same time zone. And I texted her, asked her to jump in a Zoom call for 10 minutes, and she did. And I realized that it was midnight and she was about to go to sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was terrible. I felt so sorry. I forgot what discussion I had to do with her. I apologized a lot. She was really sweet about it. And like, yeah, so stuff like that. She does not mind things if I do stupid things around her. So yeah, it's really good to know her. It's fun to work with her. She's amazing to work with. That's the
I just
person, yeah.
have to say, I think it's really cool how we've like our teams have moved around. Eve used to be on the HR team, then she went
Yeah.
over to Luke. Jovi used to work with Patrick. Now she's
She's
here with
my hire.
HR.
She was my hire.
Ah,
Ah.
she's great.
Well
She's
done. Well
great.
done. This
uh,
has all been coordinated. That's why we're on the call together.
Lots of fun.
Flo, what about you?
Uh, I mean, I can't say that I've gotten to know anyone in that close kind of way. Like I can tell you what they eat for breakfast. But I have gotten to know really like little interesting things about lots of different people. Some of the Chinese people on my team. That's been interesting because, I've never been to China and learning a little bit about how they, what the culture's like there, what they do, and their hometown and the kind of food they like to eat. And but then also, I talk to a lot of different people because when someone comes in, I talk to them. When someone leaves the company, I talk to them. And it's always a new experience, someone with a different team, different country, different background. And that's great. I think it's nice to open my expand my thoughts a bit on. I mean, I used to be an English teacher, like Luke, and it was what I liked about teaching, that you can just talk to so many different people from different parts of the world. And I think it's really cool that I can do that now in a completely different way at Yodo1.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about teaching English as well, I think, is through that you learn so much, not only about that person, but about, you know, things that you probably shouldn't even know. A lot of interesting stuff. I've had some interesting classes. Patrick, I'm afraid to ask because you've just had a very large shift. So I'm worried that you might you might start to cry if I ask the question. But
I still
uh,
talk to Chris Dossman.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp group with Manan and John Harris. I'm close to John Harris and Manan. We have our own ding talk thread. We just like joke around and stuff. As for
so
Chris, we still like talk to him.
that's great. That's great. Pals that live beyond uh, the status, the employment status. That's cool. That's how you know it's real. All right. Well, does anyone want to share anything else before we call it for today? I think it's been a good discussion. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate the thoughts and the insights. So hopefully you can join for the next one. We'll be doing another one of these. I'll have to talk to Flo about when, but I'm sure we'll do more of these in the future. So I hope you can join for those. Those watching, thank you for watching. If you're still here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's a relatively new channel, so very important to subscribe. And also you can check out our free courses like the business of mobile gaming as well. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you next
All
time.
right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Luke.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys.